I pretended to be mute on my first day. Now it's been 6 months and I can't stop. This started as a stupid mistake. 6 months ago, I started a new job at a small design studio. First day, first morning, first team meeting. I was extremely nervous. New people, new environment. Everyone seemed confident and already knew each other. About halfway through the meeting, my manager asked me directly what I thought about a project idea, and my brain just froze. I completely blanked. Instead of saying something dumb, I just awkwardly shook my head and made a little gesture with my hands like I couldn't really speak. Someone at the table immediately said, "Oh, are you nonverbal?" And for some reason, I just nodded. I don't know why I did it. Panic? Social anxiety? Pure stupidity. But once I nodded, the entire room instantly got quiet and everyone became extremely understanding. My manager said, "No worries at all. We can communicate however you're comfortable." And just like that, it was established. I went home that night thinking I'd clear it up the next day. But the next day, everyone was already being incredibly considerate. People were using Slack more with me, writing things down, giving me extra time to respond. Correcting it suddenly felt awkward. Then a week passed. Then a month. Now it's been 6 months. Everyone in the office believes I'm mute. I communicate through Slack, email, and occasionally writing things down. People are incredibly nice about it. My manager even made sure meetings always include written notes so I can follow along. Last week, HR asked if I needed any workplace accommodations. I nodded. At this point, I'm basically fluent in pretending. The problem is, outside of work, I obviously talk normally. And a few days ago, something happened that made things worse. 2 coworkers invited me to join them for drinks after work. I figured I could just hang out and type things on my phone if needed. But halfway through the night, one of them joked, "You know, if he ever suddenly starts talking one day, I'd probably pass out." Everyone laughed, and I just sat there silently. Now I'm trapped in this weird lie that started because I panicked in one meeting. If I suddenly start talking now, I'll look like a complete psycho. But if I keep going, I might have to pretend forever. So yeah, that's the situation I somehow created for myself.
My teacher remembered me 15 years later. For this reason, I ran into my old teacher completely by accident. It had been 15 years since I graduated high school. I was standing in line at a grocery store when I heard someone behind me say my name. Not loudly, just carefully. "Kevin." I turned around and saw a woman in her late 50s staring at me like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Then it clicked. "Ms. Heather," I said. Her face lit up immediately. "Oh my goodness, it is you." She had been my English teacher in 10th grade. One of those teachers everyone respected a little more than the others. Not strict exactly, but the kind who somehow knew when you were slacking off. We talked for a minute about the usual things: work, life, how long it had been. Then she said something that surprised me. "I always wondered what happened to you." That sentence hit harder than it probably should have. The truth was, I wasn't exactly a memorable student. I wasn't the smartest in class. I wasn't the troublemaker either. Mostly I was just quiet. The kid who sat near the window and turned things in on time. So I laughed a little. "You remember me?" She looked genuinely confused. "Of course I do." I figured she was just being polite. Then she said something that made me stop smiling. "You wrote that essay." I blinked. "What essay?" She folded her arms and tilted her head like she was testing me. "It was the one about your dad." And suddenly I remembered. In 10th grade, she had given us an assignment. Write about a moment that changed you. Most students wrote about sports games or family vacations. I wrote about the night my dad left. I hadn't planned to make it personal, but once I started writing, everything kind of spilled out. I wrote about the yelling, the slammed door, my mom crying in the kitchen after he drove away. I remember feeling embarrassed the moment I handed it in. A week later, Ms. Heather asked me to stay after class. I thought I was in trouble. Instead, she just handed back the paper. There was a small note at the bottom. "You're a better writer than you think." And that was it. No long conversation, no dramatic moment, just that one sentence. Back in the grocery store, Ms. Heather smiled when she saw the realization on my face. "You remember now?" "Yeah," I said slowly. She laughed softly. "I kept that essay. I thought I misheard her." "You? What?" She nodded. "I keep a few every year. The ones that really stay with me." I didn't know what to say. Then she added something I definitely wasn't expecting. I actually used yours when I talk to new teachers. Apparently she sometimes helps mentor younger teachers in the district. When they ask why writing assignments matter, she said, I show them that essay. My brain was still trying to process this. You show them something I wrote when I was 16. She nodded again, because it reminds them that students aren't just grades on a paper. I must have looked stunned, because she laughed. You probably thought I forgot about you the moment you graduated. Honestly, I kind of did. Teachers see hundreds of students every year. I assumed we all just blur together after a while. Before we left, she said something I'll probably remember for the rest of my life. You know, she said, most students think teachers remember the smartest kids. She shook her head. That's not true. Then she smiled. We remember the honest ones. As we were leaving the store, she waved goodbye and headed toward the parking lot. And I stood there for a moment thinking about something strange. For 15 years, I thought that essay had disappeared the moment I handed it in. But somewhere in a classroom drawer, a 16-year-old version of me was still there.
The homeless man I helped 10 years ago knocked on my door. It was raining the night I met him. Not the kind of rain that falls gently and smells like fresh earth. This was the miserable kind of cold. Sideways rain that soaks through your coat in seconds. I had just finished a late shift at the hospital and was walking to the train station when I saw him sitting outside a closed convenience store. He looked like he hadn't moved in hours. His clothes were soaked, his beard tangled, and his hands were wrapped around a paper cup that had maybe a few coins inside. People walked past him without even slowing down. Some avoided eye contact completely. I almost did the same. I had already taken 3 steps past him when something made me stop. Maybe it was the way he kept staring at the ground like he didn't want anyone to see his face. I turned around. Hey, I said. He looked up slowly, like he wasn't sure I was talking to him. You eaten today? He hesitated before answering. Not really. There was a diner across the street that stayed open all night. I told him to come with me. At first he refused, mumbling something about not wanting to be a bother. But eventually he followed me inside. The waitress gave us both a strange look when we sat down. I ordered him a burger, fries, and coffee. When the food came, he ate like someone who hadn't had a real meal in days fast at first, then slower, like he was trying to make it last. We talked a little. His name was Daniel. He used to be an electrician before an accident at work wrecked his back. Medical bills piled up. Painkillers turned into addiction. Addiction turned into losing his job. Then his apartment. He told the story like it had happened to someone else. It was raining the night I met him. Not the kind of rain that falls gently and smells like fresh earth. This was the miserable kind of cold. Sideways rain that soaks through your coat in seconds. I had just finished a late shift at the hospital and was walking to the train station when I saw him sitting outside a closed convenience store. He looked like he hadn't moved in hours. His clothes were soaked, his beard tangled, and his hands were wrapped around a paper cup that had maybe a few coins inside. People walked past him without even slowing down. Some avoided eye contact completely. I almost did the same. I had already taken 3 steps past him when something made me stop. Maybe it was the way he kept staring at the ground like he didn't want anyone to see his face. I turned around. Hey, I said. He looked up slowly, like he wasn't sure I was talking to him. You eaten today? He hesitated before answering. Not really. There was a diner across the street that stayed open all night. I told him to come with me. At first he refused, mumbling something about not wanting to be a bother. But eventually he followed me inside. The waitress gave us both a strange look when we sat down. I ordered him a burger, fries, and coffee. When the food came, he ate like someone who hadn't had a real meal in days fast at first, then slower, like he was trying to make it last. We talked a little. His name was Daniel. He used to be an electrician before an accident at work wrecked his back. Medical bills piled up. Painkillers turned into addiction. Addiction turned into losing his job. Then his apartment. He told the story like it had happened to someone else. And then he said something that made my stomach drop. 10 years ago, you bought me a burger at a diner during a rainstorm. For a second, my brain couldn't process it. Daniel, I said. He laughed. Yeah, it's me. I stared at him. The beard was gone, the exhaustion was gone, but the eyes were the same. We ended up sitting at my kitchen table for almost 2 hours. After that night, Daniel had used the money I gave him to get a cheap motel room for a few nights. While he was there, he called a rehab center his sister had once told him about. It wasn't easy. He relapsed twice, slept in shelters, took small jobs wherever he could. But slowly, things started turning around. He got clean. Then he got certified again as an electrician. Today, he runs a small electrical contracting company with 12 employees. At some point during the story, he slid the box across the table. "What's this?" I asked. "Open it." Inside was a watch. Not an expensive luxury watch, but a really nice one. Solid, simple, the kind that lasts forever. "You didn't have to do this," I said immediately. He shook his head. "You don't get it." He leaned back in his chair and smiled. That night was the first time in years someone treated me like I was still a person. I didn't know what to say. Then he added quietly, "I probably wouldn't be here if you had just walked past." Before he left, we stood awkwardly at the door for a moment. Then he said something that stuck with me. "You gave me $100, he said, but it felt like someone handed me my life back." And then he walked down the stairs and disappeared into the night. The watch is sitting on my desk right now. I still wear it sometimes. Every time I do, I remember something strange about that night in the rain. I almost kept walking.